Hello and welcome to another week of building Kamino. Last week we worked on this lovely mess hall room, which is messy as you can tell. Had a lot of fun building that. But today we are finally moving on to what should be the final episode of the main hangar of Kamino, as we finish it off by basically covering up this gigantic mess of lights and wires and gaps. Let's get into it.
Move it, troopers! On the double! Fire!
Okay, so the first thing I want to get done this week is basically figure out the lights to the Bad Batch's quarters. As you can see right now, they are a complete mess, and they're going to be too tall to actually line up with the actual roof itself. So I need to find a way to lower these somehow without completely blocking them. So I need to basically redesign to figure out this roof. This is what it looks like when I've got it all covered over, and this does look nice. My only issue is it's very hard to fit lights in there, so it does make it a little bit dark. Also, this wall keeps falling over every 5 seconds, and I really hate it. But besides that, I'm quite happy with how this is coming along. And you can see that that does now fit in line with the actual height. And I now need to move lights into the prison section next to it. Okay, so with even more time spent fiddling around with wires, I think I've basically got the prison section lit up. And I really like how it looks. It really does give that blue hue to the room which I wanted from it. I also finished off this top band, which should wrap around the entire training room area to hopefully stop this wall from falling out again, because I've actually got this now clipped down with a plate, so we do not have another example of this happening. Kamino looks like it's going to fall over. Yeah, a lot of people say that, but I promise you, it is stable. But this plate should stop that from ever happening again. Next, what we've got to do is basically bring this light bluish grey layer around the whole mock, so you can kind of see I've got a bunch of 8x8 plates, which are kind of just surrounding it to build some more structure into it, to make it a little bit more strong, and really helps to bulk out the roof and make it, again, stronger. So I've actually got some kind of surface to build on. Now this is me kind of stretching out the roof and actually getting it done over. It's not completely even, but it works. This isn't really the focus. You can kind of see the lights are now hanging all over the place. That one's slightly better, but I don't know what's going on in the barracks. They're just like hanging down entirely. But we'll deal with that another day. But there you go. That's not too bad. You can see those rooms now light up quite nicely. I'll also have the training room lit up like that as well. Like these lights are, yeah, they're not too bad. Basically, now I need to fit in the battery box which controls these lights, because they need to go somewhere. And I definitely want to make this battery box a lot more accessible than the last one, because this is the issue with the last battery box. If you've been watching Kamino for a long time, you'll remember that the battery box used to be at the very bottom level around here, because it used to light up Colt's corridor in here and also a couple lights down here, as well as some in this room as well. This was eventually moved up to make room for the control center. So now when I basically can pull away this wall, you can see there's the switch here to turn on the lights. Now this is very hard to get to actually turn on. Like, you've got to really fiddle around to get it to turn on. You can see that it's actually built under the training room. And basically when I were to remove this wall here, you can actually kind of see that an issue comes up, that it kind of is like the tile which holds this down takes up the corner of the training room. So basically any time which I take out this wall, the entire corner of the training room just falls down, because it's all snot, so nothing's attached, and it all falls into this hole where the switch is, so the switch doesn't work anymore. So I've then got to disassemble this entire section to get all the pieces which fell down there out, to actually turn off the switch again so the batteries don't die. So basically any time I have to turn these lights on, it is a complete pain to get them all sorted out. And which is the reason that this room is in such a complete mess as it is. I'm only going to fix this like the second before I film the last finale bit for it, because at the time being this is just too unstable. I do really like it, but it's just so unstable that it's hard to control basically. But yeah, that's why I like the new battery box so much, because it's so much smaller and I can fit it into this little box and just flick on the switch on and off, and it's right on the roof level. So I'm just going to attach a little trap door here to get to it so easily, and it's much better than the last one. And there you have it. After a long time of getting this roof on, almost delaying the uploading of this video, you can see I finally got the roof onto Kamino. Yes, it may not be perfectly even because the underside of this is largely in part an empty chasm with the different rooms and different levels, so some parts don't work perfectly. But if you look up here, you can see there's actually a secret little hatch, and if I were to take a brick and place it down there to open said hatch, you could see that leads directly to my little light switch. So when I push that across, you can see all of the lights to the upstairs rooms are on. I just realized that there are some issues in that room, but we will deal with that later. But as for the roof itself, and for the bulk of the main hangar, let's switch that off. It is now complete, and I can now finally move on beyond it. This hangar has been a gigantic process. I believe we started working on this hangar in I want to say week 2 or maybe week 3. And it is now week 25 in which we're finishing it. So yeah, quite the task, quite the project. You can see I've now got it on a turntable so I can spin it around and make it really easy to show for you, and make you all really worried if it's all going to fall apart at any second, which I think is quite funny. But nevertheless, this is what it's looking like with all of the rooms on. Obviously it's not fully complete, like there's still like a bit messy in some places, and there's some areas I had to take for parts and whatnot, but the bulk of it's here. You can see there's also the inside of the hangar, which probably hasn't been seen in months and probably getting quite dusty down there, but that's a different section. But yeah, that is the hangar of Kamino basically done, besides a couple finishing touches like this little thing jutting out. I can fix that eventually, and other things like that. You can see I've got the nice curve coming down. Maybe it is a little bit too flat on the top. I'm not sure how I'd quite remedy that, but you know, it is what we've got. If you've got any ideas on anything I can put on top, let me know. But besides that, that's about it for this week's episode of Building Kamino. But anyway, if you like this week's episode of Building Kamino, like the video, that's what the like button's there for. Comment your favourite thing we got done this week, even though we only really got one thing done, that being the roof. But I quite like the battery box, as I mentioned before. That little hatch is quite cute, I think. And subscribe if you're new, so you can see where this hangar is going. The Kamino mock is not just the hangar. I know that's what we've been focusing on for the past however many months now, but there is a rest of the mock for this to go on. It needs to go on top of the columns, which goes on top of the waters, and not to mention all the other platforms, and then there's all the minifigure placements, and not to even start to mention about what's going to happen with the Bad Batch. Because if you don't know, there's heavy rumours that in the Bad Batch there's going to be a clone revolt on Kamino. So if that does become the case, I'm going to be in trouble, because I do not have the figures for that, and I also don't really know if I've got the room for that, especially if there's more interior rooms which come up in the episodes, in which case I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Speaking of bridges, that's what's coming up next week. The platforms I'm going to finally get back to, and the bridges connecting the platforms, hence my hilarious joke. But that's going to be it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I really do appreciate it. And goodbye. Super quick clone count this week. We've only got 3 to go through. That being Well-Fed Clone, Bob 2, and Kai. Basically, to get your own clone in the mock, all you need to do is come along to one of my live streams, which is where you can see me build Kamino early. They typically tend to be on Friday nights, at least in the UK time, so Friday afternoons in America, I guess. And it's a great time to hang out with other like-minded people who love Lego. And it's also a way to get featured in the mock updates. So thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.